Hello. Happy
Hello.
Friday, everybody. Welcome to Naoto's Nerdy Power Hour.
Yes.
It's our second episode in glorious 720p, and we're having some technical issues already. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope your week's going well. Today we're going to talk about knife sharpening, obviously, but we're going to talk about a much requested topic. We've had requests from Grant. I think Yusik has requested this. How to sharpen knives for different jobs and for different people too. What kind of edge is going to maybe hold an edge better, or what kind of edge is going to feel sharper. A little bit of everything for everyone, so you can have the perfect edge for yourself or for the person you're sharpening for.
Yeah.
How are you doing now, Phil?
Good. How are you? Good.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm happy the week's come to an end. It's been a good one, a busy one. Shot some videos of the warehouse on Wednesday. Got some exciting new YouTube content coming. Yeah, we did. Not to let too much out of the bag, but we did an Iron Chef inspired knife sharpening video, sharpening competition between Kevin and Mike, which was Naoto's idea. And it was a challenging shoot, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to see how it comes out.
It was a lot of fun. I was talking to the guy who edits Jiven in Vancouver, and he hasn't seen the footage yet. But I'm like, I had to tell him, like, you have to tell me what you thought, what he thinks.
Your acting job was spectacular. It was that was what made it the most fun. You lit the room up, Naoto, and I'm a little behind. I haven't sorted and labeled the footage yet. I'm going to do that after this. So on Monday he'll start editing, and then next week we're also shooting some more sharpening videos. So we're trying to produce more sharpening content because we know a lot of you folks are fans and like to nerd out about the in-depth sharpening details. So. We just released one on Wednesday, which is how to straighten a bent knife. And that was with Naoto, of course. We're shooting a couple more on Monday, how to fix a chip knife, and just a basic one on how to true your stones. And we'll get more into the really in-depth technical stuff down the road. But if anybody has ideas for videos, let us know in the comments.
Awesome. Yeah. A couple, announcements. Like you've got a few announcements to do, and let's get it going from there.
Yeah, I'll go through these real quick. I won't make you guys wait for too long. But real quick, Blank, who I think was one of the other people that requested this show or this episode, said can't wait for the finishes and edges, etc. Few folks, Eggy and Craig's Kitchen Rocks, just say hello, happy Friday. Craig, I didn't realize is a friend of our buddy Nick in off on the East Coast. And apparently they're neighbors, or they're going to be neighbors. But Craig makes some pretty amazing looking food on Instagram, so I've been creeping his page. And Blank says, "Nah, totally not obsessed with knife sharpening." Dr. Blank also says, "I don't know if anyone here is into pocket knives, but Cedric and Ada just put out a great video. I of course had to stop watching halfway through to come over to the live stream. I'll be honest, I don't know who that is, but I'll go check it out after this. We just got some really exciting pocket knives." In at Kent of Inglewood, our sister brand. We got some James brand knives, which are style-wise, they're kind of like a hipstery kind of lifestyle brand, but their stuff is really, really well made, really, really rock solid. I'm excited to add one to my collection because they seem super cool. Other than that, real quick, we do have a bit of news. We just got some chef spoons called Gestura is a high-end chef spoon for tasting, for stirring, for plating, bit of everything. So if you work in the restaurant industry, or you're just passionate about kitchen utensils, check them out. They're really cool, and they'll be in shops next week. Blank, I don't know if we have any of those James knives to show you. We'll have to check, but I'm going to be buying one soon, so I might have one by next week, by next week's episode. This is the Gestura kitchen spoon. It's got a super flat beveled top, so you can level out scoops of spices and stuff. It is exactly 1 tablespoon. It's pressed stainless steel. It's perfect for stirring, for plating, for tasting, for drizzling. It kind of does everything. And Sean says, I need 3 of every James brand knife ever made, at least 3. Yeah, I'm with you, Sean. Okay, real quick, last bits of news. Speaking of the kitchen industry and cooks and chefs, dining rooms in Ontario and BC have unfortunately had to close again. So we are doing free knife sharpening for all Ontario and BC cooks and chefs. Just bring your knife roll down. We're not doing any crazy repairs or anything like that, but if you just need a good edge put on your knives, we'll do it for free. We're working on getting that together in Alberta too. We just need to confirm everything with the store managers. So we'll have an announcement on that probably Sunday or Monday. Other than that, Ottawa, Knifewear Ottawa, some of you may know, is also closed to the public at the moment. They are open for curbside Tuesday to Saturday, but unfortunately you can't go into the shop. So if you need anything, just order it online, or you can order at knifewear.com. We'll ship free over $100. Otherwise, you can also select curbside pickup. And if you do need your own Sharpen, just drop them off at the door, and they'll take care of it.
Yeah, Sharpening is still available, so.
Yeah, all our regular services have continued. You just can't, come into the shop. So without further ado, I think we should get into it. Craig does have a question. Any chance you spend a bit of time on finishes for Western knives? I sharpen some for friends, but don't use them. I still have a trusty Henkel's that I use for certain jobs in my kitchen. So, and Blank says, good idea there. Blank sharpens a lot of Western knives, I imagine, being a professional sharpener. So yeah, we should talk about that a little bit I think we'll get to that as we get into the show. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Today's topic is the different edges, different type of sharpening jobs for different jobs or different food. I had grabbed the few vegetables from the superstore near us, and I got a very thick, nice carrot and an onion with the skin on, and tomatoes. These three are really good for to tell how toothy the edge is or how silky the edge is, also how thick the edge is. There are three components I think that the determines how sharp or the smooth or how the knife is. One is obviously the edge at the last edge, right? The finishes at 4,000 grit, 8,000 grit, or whatever you may choose to. That's the how toothy your edge is. Second is definitely how thin your edge is and where that thinness or where is the thinnest part. The last part, Nathan, can you guess what the third is?
So we got the toothiness, the thinness.
So I'm gonna.
Is it the shape of the bevel, like the geometry of the bevel?
Well, that is part of thinness, right?
Okay. Is it the angle the knife is sharpened at?
Well, it could be, but that's more like a toughness, I guess, right? If you sharpen at the bigger angle, so the last bit is actually how to finish this bevel. What that means is that if you're going to finish at the with Kasumi finish, which is a little bit more like this finish, right? It's got a little shiny part and the smoky part. Or if you're making it this like super smooth, like almost like a mirror, because that's the part that is actually touching the food on the side, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Smooth that glides.
But once you carry through into that carrot, it's gonna, dictate how much it sticks or releases, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Right. So I'm gonna do a few things today. So that three is, I think, is most important.
We're getting a little reverberation there now, so I'm not sure. I don't know if that's coming through on YouTube, but I don't know if your mic's vibrating a little bit. But we'll keep an eye open for it.
It does have a little bit of vibration, and
I think it's just from the table. Are you able to clip that to the computer table there? Thanks for your patience, everyone. We're still figuring out the new equipment. As you may know, all three shows now are using new equipment. We've got some decent quality webcams and some microphones. So Sharpening Night in Canada, Naoto Third Hour, and Knife 101 are all on gorgeous, stunning 720p resolution. and we've got these nice USB microphones that we're using. In the meantime, if you have questions for Naoto, pop them in the comments. I would imagine that everybody watching right now is probably subscribed to us on YouTube, but if you're not, or if you're watching on Facebook, head to knifewear.com/YouTube and subscribe. We would appreciate it. How's that going over there, Naoto?
I just put that on the chair, the stool, so it's separate. So it shouldn't vibrate.
Oh, that's much better. Thanks, Naoto.
Good.
So obviously, you're starting by flattening your stones, which any good knife sharpener does.
Was that?
I said you're starting by flattening your stones, which any good knife sharpener will do.
I thought I heard something.
No, so that's much better. We've got some feedback from the folks watching, and that sounds a lot better. Thanks, Naoto.
Awesome. Well, I myself. Do you your speaker doing something? Okay, sorry. Here.
All good, man.
Okay, good.
Sounds good to us.
What I'm going to do is really to sharpen in the regular way, which is to start thinning the this whole knife first, and see how it goes. The thickness or thinness is really the key when you actually cut into something like a, especially a like carrots, denser veggies like carrots, yam, even some squash in some sort. The squash is pretty tough to cut into because it's pretty, it's dense and it's hard. If you twist them, it can chip your knife pretty easy.
So it's a balancing act between thinness and thickness, depending on what you're cutting.
And also, where you're thinning is also another part as well. By putting it very flat on the bevel like this, it's fine, right? Like this. But what I'm going to do is be slightly different. Instead of just putting it flat here, I'm going to give tiny bit of angle, tiny bit.
And so which part of the bevel are you pressing down onto with your fingers?
It's at the last bit. So if you see it, I'm pressing it down right here, right? And also I will give tiny bit of angle with my right hand. You see in the camera?
Yeah. I can see that.
So so this bevel was pretty flat like this. So instead of flat on here, I will give tiny bit of the angle. This will thin the knife faster as well. Because
is that because you're grinding away the blade road more quickly?
Yeah. So at the tip, I'm going to sharpen pretty thin. So this aim here today, like right now, what I'm doing here is to make it thin enough so that when you're cutting a carrot, especially into like a little bit thicker medallions, like an inch thick, my goal is that the carrot will never break.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's like when you cut a carrot with a Henkel's knife, and it feels like you're putting an axe through it, and it kind of cracks partway through.
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor and just move your stone forward 2 inches?
This way?
Yes, perfect. Thanks, man.
Good.
Sean Buckle on Facebook was asking, is that the Knifewear 220 grit stone?
Yes, it is. Sorry, I should have mentioned. This is Knifewear 220. It's pretty coarse. It's a great. I was using the finger stone on this one the other day, and it works really well to restore the finish as well for some finishes.
Cool. Yeah, I really like thinning with that stone. We got a couple other questions while you're doing that. So Dr. Blank, who was tuned in yesterday, who's uh, the Thursday show is a little more casual. They try to teach some basic knife sharpening skills, and so sometimes the nerdier among us stump the guys a little bit. And he says he stumped the guys yesterday by asking if they ever have messed with convexing a knife on the food release side, which for a right hand person would be the right side, to the point where it rounded off the shoulder of the bevel. Have you ever done this?
Yes, I have, and that's one topic that I was going to actually talk about this show as well.
Ah.
Good that you bring that up.
Your timing couldn't have been better. It's almost like we planned it, but we didn't at all.
Because definitely that was the one of the topic I wanted to talk about. Because the carrot is again fantastic example of doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's kind of elaborated. Some guys on the kitchen knife forums recommend it, then putting a normal bevel on the other side. So you're essentially creating two different shapes on the different sides of the knife. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the differences. I actually have one knife that I actually had to sharpen today that I put that kind of bevel because it was kind of sharpened that way.
Mm.
And I'll show you how they cut.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's why I bought some carrots and stuff like that.
Nice. Have you got anything crazy in for sharpening this week?
Just a few some chips, and I already fixed it. Some profile errors as the people sharpen and as they thin. If they don't fix that the straightness of the knife, they will often make the profile very weird. Yeah. And I had to fix one of those today.
As I mentioned, so we've got a number of people that have just tuned in. If you just tuned in, we would love it if you would like the video and subscribe on YouTube. It really, really helps us, and it allows us to continue doing this for work, which is kind of awesome, and we appreciate the support. And if you already have liked and subscribed, you rock. Thank you very much. But we've been shooting a lot of YouTube videos lately, and we're shooting a couple more next week on Monday. And one of them is about fixing a knife that's chipped. And so I was writing the script today and specifically including some tips on how to maintain the profile of your knife, because if you just sharpen out the chip, if you're inexperienced, it's really easy to change the profile of your knife and you end up with a really wonky profile and you have to send it to somebody like Naoto to get it fixed. So I hope that video will be helpful to people.
Yeah, hopefully. I can't wait. Okay. So I'm going to do a few more steps on here. So what I was looking for, again, is to sharpen at the very tip with tiny bit of angle, very tiny bit. It's only like 1 or 2 degrees from the flat. Then sharpen at the very edge here. Make it thin enough so that the thinner the edge is, that makes the entry into the food so much easier, right? Then after I made it that the edge part really thin, I tried to, my finger position changed a little bit from the edge to a tiny bit a little bit higher up here. Right? Higher up means I'm actually grinding a little bit more thicker part of the bevel.
And is that to round out that kind of shoulder? I'm guessing that's the shoulder that Blank was referring to.
There is 2 shoulders. Like I'm making one shoulder by lifting up and putting it flat, so making one shoulder. There's another shoulder here that is called shinogi. You could definitely have the shinogi up, which to put the fingers a little bit higher up on this line right here called shinogi. So you could do that too.
Okay. It's kind of like rack sharpening stuff we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, like building that kind of rounded edge and working out those bumps.
Yeah, exactly. But higher this bevel is, it's going to make it the little more gradual taper, which is great for again cutting those root veggies and stuff, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, so that you're not getting that really intense, like aggressive cut that cracks the vegetable when you get partway through.
Exactly.
Yusik says thinning is just another reason I can't bring myself to love Damascus, and I totally understand that. Damascus hasn't always been my cup of tea, although some of the knives we've been getting more recently that have, like Masashi-san's knives, like the Kuroshu specifically, is that beautiful black Kurochi Damascus, which I actually really like. And then the bevel is polished, but it's a really pronounced bevel. It's not like those gradual bevels that a lot of Damascus knives have. And I much prefer that style of knife where you've got that pronounced bevel to it.
I'll show you the for those people who's what he means by the thinning, or the thinning Damascus is hard. Basically, how we do this one here, you're scratching up whole bevel, right? So that also sometimes makes the Damascus not as prominent. This one here, I am actually experimenting it right now. It's actually one of our colleagues' knife, Mike's knife.
Mm.
I don't know how they look on the camera because what I'm seeing.
Can you bring the spine up towards the camera a little bit? Yeah, there we go. There we go.
You see the look?
Yeah, not quite, but I get the idea.
It's I've already restored. Like I've done thinning, and I'm trying to bring that the Damascus look back. And how did that look on the camera?
Yeah.
Good-ish?
Sure. Maybe try it in front of your face camera there. Same thing. These webcams are good, but they're not ideal for showing off Damascus knives.
Okay.
We'll have to upgrade our cameras again.
Because if you look this on the actual eyes, it looks like brand, almost like a brand new. It depends on the angle. I did it with actually this stone, but broken piece. I had it as a stone.
Blank says, Fighting U6 says, Mike. You mean Mike who has Kevin's tank? That Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're watching and you missed it, go back to Tuesday's episode of Japanese Knives 101. Around, I think it's the 28-minute mark. There's a bit of a surprise that Kevin got. somebody ordered him a tank, and well, let's just say Mike got to it first.
Yeah, it was fun. It was funny.
Man,
Nathan, it's not me. It's not me hand that knife to Mike.
It wasn't your fault.
It was not me. Someone must, like Mike must have come to my office, took it, or someone else must have done.
Just pin the blame on Mike. He's not here. He can't defend himself.
Yeah. I just have to say it's not me.
No. James says, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday, James. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're firing up the Conroe grill this weekend. Let us know what you're cooking. Let's see. We got some great discussion going in chat. This is my favorite part about the Friday show, is just there's so much good discussion just between viewers about what they're sharpening with. Sean on Facebook. Sean Coots works in our Ottawa shop. Hope you're doing well, Sean. Even after using the 220 grit wheel for thinning, I will still hit the knife on the Knifewear 220 stone right after. It leaves such a smooth finish for such an aggressive stone.
Yeah. It's a great idea. Because it takes all the scratches off, right?
And it doesn't leave any of the deep gouges that you can get sometimes from, like, you can get some really deep scratches from the wheel sometimes. And I find that the 220 stone's pretty consistent. All
right. So, you know what? Fun thing about today is to do the experiment, right? So, 220 finish on the bevel. Right? You see them here? I'm going to cheat a little bit by using that wheel right there. Okay? To set the edge on. Okay? So, we have the wheel that spins like this. And we have three different grits on here. We have very coarse one, which I usually use it for like thinning, fixing chips and stuff. I generally don't use this to put the regular edge on because it's too aggressive, right? But
yeah, it really, I mean, it eats away at steel, and that can be really good, but it can also be not good when you're just putting an edge on a thin knife. It's great if you got to put an edge on, like, you know, an old yellow handled knife or like somebody's shawarma knife, but it's not so great for a freshly thin knife.
What I'm going to do right now is to put the very, very gently though with using that to put the edge on this one here.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was quick.
That was extremely quick.
Yeah.
I was looking for a question to pull up in the meantime, but I didn't even have time.
No, it was just the very quick, and just going to deburr it with 220. Okay. So what it made is that this edge here right now with the so the surface or this part here is pretty rough, right? The surface on the side, because I finished it with 220, and also the edge is pretty rough, right? Because I finished it with the that very coarse wheel. Okay, I will strop with my jean like I do it with any other knives.
Yeah.
I'll test the edge if there's any big.
Oh, can you bring that down a little bit for us? Yeah, there we go.
You can hear. Does it catch it? I don't know.
It's like sharpening ASMR.
It's pretty coarse. It's
yeah, you can hear it like shredding.
Yeah, it's almost like a. But this is the edge that could be good. I'm gonna actually move my camera.
Yeah.
Here.
Mind if I pop a couple questions in here real quick?
Yeah.
Just so I can stay caught up. Again, lots of good discussion. I believe it was Samuel. Here it is. Samuel Chen.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for tuning in, buddy. So when people are talking about why sharpening for Swedish knives, are they talking about a different way to sharpen? Another name for Y sharpening, I think what Samuel's referring to is that Y shape like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what the other term for it is a Scandi grind or Scandinavian grind.
Yep.
And it's basically, it is like the inside of a Y. It's a triangle. It's a wedge shape. Naoto talked about that a bit on the axe episode a couple weeks ago. But it is a different way to sharpen. It's very similar to sharpening the primary bevel on a Japanese knife, but it's at a much wider angle, and so often you won't sharpen a secondary bevel. And it's really good for wood carving. I've been really getting into spoon carving lately, and that's where that style of sharpening really comes into play and really works well. We'll have an episode where we talk about Scandinavian sharpening. I think it's a really interesting topic.
So the edge. Oh, I have. Cutting board? Got
to cut a flat spot on those tomatoes. Oh, that just focused in. That looks great.
Okay, good. So here's the tomato. Here's a knife. It's pretty coarse. So this knife is coarse enough. It's got the toothy edge, enough toothiness to actually cut it into the tomatoes without a problem. It's really hard. Should I make it the other way around? Yeah, I think. So 1 second. This way is better, maybe. So
yeah, there we go. Now we can see what the knife's doing.
You can see.
And just move the tomato forward an inch or so.
Which camera?
Just move it up the cutting board. Yeah, there we go. That looks good.
So, like, you see, it cuts. I'm looking at the camera. And it's like cutting is hard.
Yeah, no kidding.
It cuts good. But
yeah.
I can feel it's very, very coarse. What this edge is good for is, So I'm gonna do actually with the carrot. Here, I got really fairly thick carrot. Let's see, one of those Japanese one. You get it from the.
Oh yeah, the big boys.
So what this edge is really good is when you're trying to cut the firm. Can't really see it. This so here.
Looks good to me.
Here, good. Okay,
Yep.
So when I'm cutting the carrot, so it didn't the whatchamacallit, the break. It's just super smooth.
Yeah,
But
really nice.
what this does very well is that when you cut your carrot with the very thin knife, what happens is that the texture here becomes so glassy.
Yeah, you can actually see the shine on camera. I remember the first time I ever used my Moritaka Ishime, that the first Japanese knife I ever got, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this carrot is so smooth, and so like and it's like slippery when you eat it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So this edge is good. That grabs that pretty easy. So when I'm saying, like, I make the julienne at home, right? So when I'm doing a julienning, I have some like carrot stacked up like this, and I do it this way, right? When I do this, because this has got really nice coarse edge, it grabs the edge very nice that the carrot doesn't. Like I still hold the carrots like this, but the I don't have to like push down too much. Sometimes what happens is that I've done a few times, I make the edge too smooth. So when you're actually doing this, it doesn't grab, and I'll show you because it's gonna be really fun. This is the edge with the again, very coarse wheel. Okay.
Yeah. But it looks really nice. Like, it looks like it's cutting really nicely, and I've got a lot of feelings about this, but I find some edges are not always what I want because they lose that glide really quickly, and they start struggling.
Very good job, right? But I'm going to let's make it a little bit more extreme as the put the camera back here. Sorry, it's a little bit of a mess in the warehouse here.
All good, man.
What I'm going to do is want to make a little bit more extreme case because that was super coarse, which we don't normally finish the knives at, right? So instead of doing this one, I'm going to just do it really quick with the medium grit, polish it up, and I'm going to finish with the 2500 grit, very fine stone. The reason why today I'm using this is that it's fast, and also it kind of makes sense. Like, it makes not make sense, but make sure that the edge is actually that smoothness, because it just grinds it really fast.
Gotcha. Got a ton of great comments here from folks. I like this one. Andrew is just saying, finally, somebody's saying different uses require different sharpnesses, which is, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about today, is that if you're a different kind of cook, or if you're cutting certain things a lot with your knife, you're going to want to have it sharpened different ways. And the smoothest, sharpest edge isn't always the best for every kind of person. Talking about Scandinavian grinds earlier, Fighting U6 says Scandi would be quite similar to wide double bevel kitchen knives. I would imagine so. Yeah, maybe something more like a I don't know, maybe a Moritaka where the bevel's not quite as tall. But the main difference is that you often don't have a secondary bevel on a Scandinavian grind. You often just have the primary bevel. Yusik had a good idea for a stream. Here's a crazy potential stream idea. Other kitchen stuff like shears, blender blades, etc. I think it would be fun to show off some of the crazy stuff that we've had to sharpen before at Knifewear, because we are kind of knife and sharpening experts, especially locally. There aren't a lot of alternatives in the cities that we're in. We get certainly lots of food processor blades. I've sharpened scissors for cutting green screen material that were being used on Ghostbusters. We've sharpened a ton of kitchen shears. There's I think we've been asked to sharpen deli slicers, pizza cutters. I mean, there's all sorts of weird stuff that we can sharpen and get asked to sharpen. So I think doing a couple episodes where we sharpen some crazier stuff would be good.
Can you hear Nathan?
Not quite. Not quite.
Okay. So, well, you can tell it's a big difference, right? It could.
Yeah, that's the rough one, right?
No, that was the smooth one. So I'm just
that's the one you just did. Okay.
It's pretty smooth. It's not tearing as much. What I'm going to do is I'm back here. This edge now is great for this type of trick. Because the
I see.
edge is really smooth. I would make the this side lot smoother if I were to do this trick more. The reason is that the smoother that is, there's less friction between this part and the knife, right? So that it doesn't do this. Edge is fine enough that it glides in really easy, right?
Yeah.
But the because of the side I left a little bit more rough, it kind of have more friction and just start to pull the tomatoes around. Make sense?
I see.
Yeah.
So just for clarification, in case anybody's lost track, what grit is that edge done on, and what grit is the bevel polish to?
So this is the so the edge is done with the 2500 grit wheel, which is almost like equivalent to a 4000 edge. It's pretty smooth, but the bevel is only done with the 220. Okay.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna do the same thing again. So with the same pressure, I actually find it doesn't glide in as much.
Yeah, it's not sinking straight in and like biting right through that carrot.
But this edge is fantastic for very soft stuff, but you may want a little bit more coarser edge for doing, and also a bunch of juliennes. You see the difference here?
Yeah.
I actually found it's so much more easier to do this type of julienne with the that coarser edge that I just made.
Yeah, it honestly looks like the knife is having trouble there. I mean, obviously you're not putting a lot of pressure, but if you were if you're cutting up 10 pounds of coleslaw at a barbecue restaurant, you would want that coarse edge because it would do the work for you.
Yeah. It still does the work. It's fantastic. But the say if you need to cut the like pounds of tomatoes and stuff, again, this edge is fantastic, but it touches on the cutting board for a few hours and start to lose the edge. You could definitely ask us to finish a little bit more coarser grit, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But still, that's really good. I mean, like, I don't need to push anything to do this. Okay, and also this edge is really not the best to do this. It still does. It's fantastic. But when you're trying to cut the cut the head off on the onion, you sometimes want the little bit more toothiness on the.
Well, an onion skin's much tougher than say your average vegetable, right? Like you're fighting against something pretty resistant.
Yeah, so that's another thing that you want to consider. I will finish this one with the a little bit more fine tuning on the side. You see, you didn't see much sticking on the blade with the carrots, right?
Yeah, it seems like it releases pretty well.
It does, yeah. it does release is pretty good. It still does stick a little bit like this, but I'll bring this to a little bit more finer edge. Okay, you bear with us. Just gonna have the camera back.
Do you mind if I pop a few questions in here and a few comments?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, a few minutes ago I mentioned Yusuk's comment about we should do a show where we sharpen some other crazy stuff like some blender blades and some kitchen shears, and I really like that idea. I think we should definitely do that next month, or even next week maybe. Blank, who has a sharpening business, says I sharpen stuff like that a lot for work, so I would love that. James, I asked James if they were doing any Conroe cooking today because it's the weekend, and said it's raining in Vancouver, so maybe instead of Conroe, I'll just do some knife polishing. Let us know what you're polishing, James, and how you're polishing it.
Oh, he's got a crazy selection of knives and stones, right? Oh,
yeah, big. A pretty impressive collection.
Yeah.
Corey Phillips is asking, kind of to us and to the other viewers, how far down the stropping rabbit hole have you guys gone? Any experiences with different compounds, green, blue, red, diamond paste, etc., or materials besides leather and suede?
That's probably, Nathan, your question, because here it is a deep rabbit hole. Like if you're going to the stropping.
Mm-hmm.
As a kitchen knife sharpener, primarily, I don't go into the deep rabbit hole as much, right? Because as I was showing you on the carrot game there, toothier the edge sometimes it's good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a little bit more of the question with those straight razors or chisels, so plain blades, right?
Absolutely. Well, and that's where we see a lot of our customers really talking about that kind of stuff. Like when we're in store and we're having these conversations, usually it's somebody that's a woodworker or sometimes is into straight razors. Because if you didn't know, we've got another brand, Ken of Englewood, and they're all about straight razors and axes and that kind of stuff. So we see a lot of discussion of stropping compounds there. I don't know. I haven't gone too far down the rabbit hole. I certainly know what I like and don't like, and I tend to use. On my straight razor, I use cordovan, so I know a little bit about different kinds of leather: cordovan, horsehide, bridle leather. But I mostly use the green chromium oxide that we sell. How about you, Naoto? Have you got like really in depth with that, or?
The chromium oxide we have is great for kitchen knives. It's instead of K2, it's K. Instead of K1, it's a K2 kind. So it is actually a little bit more coarser. It's not only the aluminum oxide in it. It's got a little bit of not only chromium oxide in it. It actually contains a little bit of aluminum oxide as well. So it's great for our purpose because we're sharpening a kitchen knife. Again, kitchen knives does need a little bit more toothiness on the edge. But so we only use that.
I find what you put the compound on makes a big difference too. I've always found that like chromium oxide works better on a porous surface like suede or even just denim. But I find if you just put it on leather, it cakes up and gets hard, and it doesn't seem to work well for my straight razor. Speaking of which, blank says, I need to test my new compound on my razor, see what it does. I think I put way too much on it. Well, let us know what kind of razor you're working with. I'm curious. James says just polishing, doing some mirror polishing on a Hanyaki Yanagi for a friend. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's like we got some Honyaki in the other day. It's beautiful. It's forged by the Nakagawa-san of Nakagawa Hamano. He just started his own name as of April 1st. He was working and apprenticing or working for Shiraki Hamano, and they changed the name to Nakagawa Hamano now. So he's one of the really famous blacksmiths, I guess, in that the region there. So just going to explain what I'm doing here. I moved on to the 1000 grit, and I'm going to actually move up to the little bit finer, as this is a little bit more fun project. Instead of making it kasumi, I will make it actually a little bit more polished. to a or the size, try to make it a little bit more shine and fine. Okay, so I'm moving up to this 4,000, and I'm going to finish this at the 6,000 on the side.
Cool. Okay, we've got a few more questions to catch up. Patrick Lacasse says just denim for stropping a la Takamura. And we use denim a lot. I know people really like it in the stores, and Naoto strops on his jeans pretty much all the time.
Yeah. My wife hates it, though.
Yeah. we should Knifewear should really be subsidizing your denim expenditure, okay?
You know what? This one here is actually starting to wear out, and I actually got a exact same pair. So I'm actually going to just donating this.
Fighting Usyk says a key takeaway from Naoto's demo is that you have to be sharp off the coarse grit. Like you need to establish that sharp edge right away. You're not going to be able to build it up later on in the process.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back here a little bit. Thanks for your patience, guys. If you've got any questions that I haven't got to yet, we've got a ton of chats today, which we really appreciate. Oh, so I think this is the one Blank was referring to. Can we see a coarse medium Japanese natural stone edge versus a coarse medium synthetic edge? Interesting. Blank, are you referring to like coarse on one side, medium grit on the other side, or just like a coarse medium range stone?
I think it's just range. We only have medium range and really fine edge to finish. Coarse natural stone is very rare. There's like Omurato. There's some stone from the Shirahama. That's really rare to get these days.
Yeah.
So we don't have any coarse natural stone.
I could go down to the Bow River and get a coarse natural stone.
Or the Vancouver.
Yeah. Go comb the beach.
Yeah.
Another good comment Blank had, because you were showing off. This happened when you're showing off the carrot cutting. That edge would be good for raw meat, I bet. I prefer toothier edges for raw meat. Having done a decent amount of meat cutting, I find my really, really fine edges just dull really quickly, and I end up having a knife that's just slipping around and can't cut through sinew and some of the tougher bits of the animal, and it's not a good time.
For longevity, definitely the toothy edge is great. Something that you want to be thinking about is the when you say like sushi chef and try to just slice the sashimi up, that edge is way too toothy. The toothier the edge, I didn't get any meat today or the raw food because it's just it's a warehouse and I have to do with just the raw. I was gonna I looked at the salmon and like I don't know what to do with this. Like after this sharpening thing, because the knife I'm like cutting into those veggies is not the cleanest. Right.
Just extra iron in your diet now. Too. Iron's very important.
There's a lot of abrasive in it as well.
Oh, it's good for digestion. I mean, birds often have kind of small rocks that they help with digestion. I think that's really the same thing.
Yeah, I should probably easier then. Yeah.
A couple of our favorite regular viewers have pointed out there's only 24 people watching and 11 likes. Usyk and James both pointed that out. Apparently, it's 26 people watching now. But yeah, if you were watching, please like the video and subscribe. And I know every single person on YouTube says that, and it gets obnoxious, but I'll tell you why. Naoto and I really, really, really like getting to do this for a living and getting paid to make these videos because it's fun. And so it's kind of selfish of us, but if you folks watch and like our videos and subscribe to the channel, it really helps us justify to people that pay our checks, like Kevin and our producer, Chris Armitage, why we should be doing this, why we should continue doing it. So if you folks support us, it makes a massive difference. and we get to keep growing this thing. And if you have complaints, just send it to Chris@knifewear.com.
K Chris.
Chris with a K. Yeah. Chris with a CH will just, ignore it or make fun of you.
Yeah. He's just.
Blank had another question, said, or seeing an edge from 220 and then jumping directly to something like 10,000 grit to see if that leaves that bite. I think that's really interesting. I definitely tried because I'm lazy, and I'm curious to see if it works.
It does leave a little bit too, absolutely. Some knife makers, some sharpeners, they do 1,000 to 8,000 pretty frequently. They do leave a little bit of bite. And some you can do something that what the Shiba does, sharpen one side with a little bit of coarse and the other side a little bit of fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell us a combination anymore. He used to do 1,000 and 8,000.
It's his 11 secret herbs and spices, I guess.
Yeah.
I know I'm not funny. It's okay. Logan Krupa, because we were talking about sharpening kind of odd kitchen implements, says, I like that stream idea. Other kitchen stuff. Knifewear has a lot of great stuff beyond knives. Well, thank you. We do. I think probably the weirdest thing I've sharpened was not like a food processor blade. It was actually an ice pick. And it was easier than I expected, but it was definitely weird. What about you, Naoto?
Weirdest? I take the project of sharpening this the wheel that's for PVC pipes.
Oh, like a cutting wheel.
Yeah, there's the company. It's same as the cutting the meat slicer blades. It's just like circular saw, right?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds challenging. I do like those new Suihiro stones that we got, because those little handheld stones I find really good for jobs like that where you've got something unwieldy that's awkward to sharpen. Yeah, those stones are amazing. I really want to try them on a bread knife, and I want to try them. I want to try them on my grandpa's chainsaw because it's super old and beat up, and the engine's been kind of cleaned up, but the chain is just old and shitty, and so I'm curious to see what kind of work that would do.
So here, super smooth. I made it so the side, it didn't actually get it polished as much as I would like to see, but certainly edge got really nicely polished. It's super smooth on the side compared to what it was before. I'm just gonna, you see it in the camera there. It's okay. You see it there-ish.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna touch the edge up with the 8,000 there. So the side is so much smoother now. It didn't get as polished as a mirror. Let me try a few others.
Fighting Yusik, who just seems to know everything about everything, says the likes also help with the algorithm for when people search and such. So yeah, that really helps helps our YouTube channel, and we really appreciate it. So Blank's phone died and missed what I said, or what you said. And so are we doing the giant jump thing? I think Naoto's kind of doing a certain process right now, but we should try that. We should try that afterwards, like going from 220 to 8 or 10,000. I think that'd be really fun.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do this first and see how it goes. But here, can't remember which stone this was. So certainly the side of the knife becomes really, really nice and shiny. It could get a little bit more shinier and smoother, but I'm just gonna go with this for now.
Okay. So can you just give us a refresher on what you've done with that knife? Like what the edge is and what the bevel is?
So what happens is that it's really dirty.
Yeah, geez, Naoto, clean up.
Here you go. So what happens is that so what we've been sharpening is different methods, different finishes, different finish on the edge, different finish on the side, to see if it changes how it cuts or how they basically say react, right? So what I'm going to do is that what we did earlier is that I finished the roughest possible, like super coarse grit. And what it did is that actually the coarse grit was pretty good because it's got really nice bite to it, especially when you're cutting the carrots like these. At the especially when you're julienning and cutting into very smooth surface like this, it helped really well, the coarse grit. But the side of it was pretty rough. So what happened was it helped to, it didn't glide as smooth, but it helped the food not to stick on the blade. Where I'm just going to do this. What should I do? So I'm gonna do a tomato test, I guess. Here, because I polished at the side, there should be less friction here, so it glides a little bit nicer, right? So that it doesn't move as much.
Yeah.
So, but the downside is that because that there is a so much that the side is so much smoother. See if that the makes that the food stick on the blade easier.
Oh yeah, it's really building up there. Holy.
Kind of does. It's different, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically choosing what you like is the key here, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's just partially it's a matter of trial and error to find what kind of edge works best for you.
Yeah. And the most knife makers out of box sharpness is very mediocre. It's like in the middle instead of
that was what started this whole conversation was some of our viewers were saying, oh, why do certain knife makers not make their knives very sharp? And that kind of led to us to talk to talking about different kinds of edges and why you would want to not make a knife as sharp.
Exactly. Right. So that's the three different type things that I did on this one. Okay, it's good hour now, so I'm going to do something different as well.
Awesome.
I could do the one, but the someone earlier asked the big one bevel sharpening.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, bringing that knife that I sharpened today.
And we gotta do blanks ideas too. We gotta try those out because I really like those ideas. Fortunately, we have all these leftover knives from a sharpening competition we had a couple of years ago. So we have a bunch of knives we can just mess around with. Can you hear me, Naoto? No, he can't hear me. All right. Well,
sorry. Here. Yes.
So,
yes.
Yusik says, really enjoying the demos, Naoto. I agree. I think we should bring this cutting board situation in more often. I really like this setup.
So here, this knife, the customer of ours sent to us for, like, it's just milling sharpening, right? Made with just a piece, mono steel knife. So there's no lamination, it's just one piece steel. It was sharpened pretty big on right-handed bias, so I just follow it through. But what you can see on this here is that I'm gonna try the focus thing really a little bit here. So,
yeah, the autofocus on these cameras is okay. Try bringing it away from the camera a little bit.
I just turned the autofocus off. So
I see. There's a dial in that app. You can actually adjust the focus range if you want.
Oh.
Yeah,
I think I did. Like, this is too much, but.
Oh. Yeah. There we go.
No, it's just here.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. So you see, the edge is like really nice shine up here.
Yeah.
Like this. On the back though, I actually sharpen it pretty flat. So what I did on this one here is that, I'm just going to put the autofocus back. I sharpen this side, this side like this, back super flat. I can't really see it. Super flat. Like almost just take the burr off.
Yeah.
So now this knife is really right-handed bias. So what happens is that when you are cutting into a food like a carrot and try to make it super thin, it falls.
Oh, it peels away really aggressively.
Yeah. Like this.
Wow.
So the food doesn't stick on the blade at all. Right?
Yeah.
And you even do that to julienning. Julienning is a little bit different, but you can still see. Let's see if people can see it. Just going to show you here. Okay? So, watch. It kind of gives you a little bit more space here.
I see.
If I make it a lot more bigger angle, it will make it so much nicer as well. So that's good asymmetrical, asymmetrical sharpening. But downside is that when you try to cut a little bit, like I was cutting it very thin, right? Like a millimeter. If you're trying to cut it a little bit more fatter, like say an inch, it makes it a little bit hard to cut because it pulls onto the one side.
Right, there's an unequal pressure, kind of like a single bevel knife, and you don't get the straightest cut.
So, like, say, I just tried to cut it straight. I failed. Like on an angle.
Yeah.
You can adjust them. You can, you can adjust them, but it's not for everyone per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, like really the advantage is that it peels off.
So with practice, it can give you a really fine, precise cut.
Yeah, and I made I actually changed the angle as I was sharpening. Tip is a lot lower angle, and the heel is much more higher angle. So as I push and towards, that gap will become much bigger. And at the heel part, I designed to make the food fall off much easier. But yeah. So something like this can be done pretty easy by sharpening one side a lot bigger. You could sharpen one side bigger. Like, those knives are sharpened at, usually we sharpen 15 from both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as long as there's like, the 30, like as long as I think 30 degrees is achieved, it's fine. So you can sharpen one side big like this, right? Like 20 degrees or 25 degrees even, and back pretty flat, that's fine.
Cool. So that'd be like an 80-20 or a 90-10 as people would call it.
Yeah. So there is certain benefit, and there's also a bit of, benefit and what do we call it? Pros and cons. There's a lot of cons.
Oh, upsides and downsides.
Pros as well, but.
Yeah. Okay, let's blast through a few questions because we've got a few. Lots of chats today, guys. So thank you very much. Robin Sharkey asks, thoughts on using an Suita before Awasedo or Auto for Kasumi bevels?
Auto is great. The Suita, generally speaking, is one of my last stone to finish my bevels because it's got the nice softness to it. The Auto is around 2,000 to 3,000 grit, and usually Suita is a little bit more finer. So the progression I usually take is the Suita and Auto and Suita. And Awasedo is really, Awase means to match, Awasedo usually is designed, especially for kitchen knives, is to finish at the final bevel on. It is slightly different story when you're sharpening chisels and chisels or say plane blades, because plane blades that the bevel has to be just dead flat. Where kitchen knives, it's probably best to have a little bit of concave or convex to it, so slightly different. And when you got the perfect straight bevel on the the plane blades and stuff like that, you can certainly finish from from the Suita to Awasedo to finish your bevels as well. But that's like totally. And I am personally, I'm going to get a inexpensive but good quality plane blades for myself pretty soon. So when I get them, I was just gonna practice. I'll experiment, and I hopefully I can get you guys a little bit more information about the sharpening those guys as well.
Sweet. Yeah, that sounds good. Blank says supposed to sharpen a wood chipper blade sometime in the future. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like a big blade to sharpen.
I'm going to change back again.
I don't think either of us have tried that. James Wang was asking about 10 minutes ago, what is your favorite high grit stone for doing mirror polishing?
Probably, like, you have to have a really nice base to it, and I haven't done much, especially in the stones as well. I've done some with the Chosera 10,000, which now translate into professional series 10,000. They are fantastic for that kind of stuff. Another thing is that another one is the Chosera 10,000 is great. I often sometimes use, when I try to polish the side, I use the sandpaper as well as the diamond compound to get the really nice polish. Because sharpen the side with sharpening stones is hard, because oftentimes the side, this part is not flat, because hammering and grinding, right? So those polishing paste and stuff like that works a little bit better if you're trying to make your mirror polish. Or finger stones. That's the best part. That's the best thing.
Yeah, gotcha. So just a good comment from Blank, who's always got some cool sharpening advice. Says, my go-to for naturals is a tie between my Asagi razor stone and Tenjo Suita. For regular sharpening, the Kitayama followed by green compound. And I just got a Venev 1200/2000. It does great for mirror.
Mm-hmm. The mirror polish is just something that we don't get to do, and yeah.
It's. I mean, we're kind of slaves to what knives are sharpening and what kind of sharpening people want done. So
we don't have enough honyaki coming in for sharpening. I'm not experienced it, to be quite honest. Sharpening in honyaki, it'll be the same. It's maybe a little bit easier, not easier, but angle you don't have to be not super careful. One thing about I found the other day, when you're sharpening this knives that has two different steels in it, I found that you have to be careful, especially the initial grinding, because what happens is that, so when you are sharpening, this is something that probably applies to a lot of people. It's a little bit off topic from what we are doing today, but I was just going to talk about it because it's very important. Mm-hmm. Here, double bevel knives, or the most Japanese knives these days, are made with the two different type of hardness of steel, right? It's got a hard core steel, softer steel on the outside. And what we do, we try to thin them every time. Here's something that you have to be really careful. When you are just following the bevel like this, it's put it flat on the bevel, it screws up. If you just keep doing it, this is the advanced class, so I'm just not a class, advanced sharpening thing. So I'm telling you, if you just keep following this, you will make your knife shape weird.
Really?
It will.
Good to know, because I was gonna just keep doing that with my knives.
Yeah. Because the reason why is that the softer steel grinds off much faster.
Gotcha.
What happens is that if you just keep doing it like this, you are sharpening this part a lot more than the coarse steel. Ended up bringing the shinogi or this part much higher, and the bevel becomes much more shallower. So what you have to actually do to maintain what it is, maintain the bevel, you have to actually place your finger a lot closer to the edge and give a tiny bit of the angle. That is to keep the edge, keep the angle the same. Make sense?
Yeah,
So,
that makes a lot of sense. I never would have realized that, but it's super obvious when you think about it.
So it's like single bevels, right? If you are sharpening like this all the time, what happens is that you're just grinding the soft parts really quick.
Yeah.
And you're making the bevel up higher, much faster, and it's not the greatest. So yeah.
So do you have a knife that you can do a rough to super fine grit on? Because I really like Blank's suggestion, and I want to do them proud and follow through with it. While you do that, I am going to blast through some more questions, but let us know what you're going to do.
And the 8,000 after kind of stuff.
Yeah, whatever stone you want, but something super rough below 1,000 grit and something super fine like 8 or 10,000.
Okay, so here, good old Knifewear knife, Swedish steel. I'm going to sharpen this one also to the super big bevel on one side. See, like it's super high.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sharpen the backside a lot more. Lot finer.
Right on. Okay, let's get through some questions here. Fighting U6 said, always has the great suggestions. Another idea, now that you folks carry the Sharpen glass series, how about a stream using just those? I think we should totally do that.
What's that?
A sharpening stream just using the Sharpen glass stones.
Yeah.
You like those stones, don't you?
Yeah, I love those. So, like, this is actually Sharpen 220.
I thought that looked familiar. If you folks have suggestions for episodes we should do, let us know. Our goal is always to, create content you want to see. And I find that our most viewed streams are usually the ones like this one. We've got a lot of people tuning in today because that's what you folks want to watch. So if you have a suggestion, let us know, leave it in the comments, and we will make it happen.
Okay, so 220 grit. Take the burr off. It's, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
It cuts. Okay, so let's just keep the same series, but super fine. Let's do super fine.
Yeah, let's go nuts here.
Let's do. I could. Sure. Let's go nuts here.
What do you got there? Oh, is that 30,000?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go nuts here.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So it's really hard to see on the camera and how it zooms. It's pretty coarse. You can see deep scratches and stuff. 30,000 grit is probably the finest that you can find in the Japanese sharpening stones these days. It's gonna take quite a bit.
Well, while it takes a while, I'm gonna pop in a few questions. Blank says, I think I've asked this before, but do you guys ever get sent in pocket knives with high vanadium carbide steels to sharpen? And what do you think if you do? Or sorry, rather, what do you use if you do?
Hybrid carbides can be troublesome, but I find it's more trouble with the matrix hardness. So even just really hard, like high vanadium carbides, it's not hard. Pretty much the same. We use very similar stone sets. Like it may take a little while, but it's
not too bad.
Not too bad.
And do you use the same stones you would normally use, or do you use special stones for that?
No, I use pretty much the same set. A little bit of harder sets, so that it doesn't wear out as fast. So like Sharpen glass series is great. Those wheels are really fast as well.
So, Richard Yasushi Lee is asking what to do with a blade that has been sharpened badly, in brackets, House of Knives. So he said it, not me. Specifically, one with a tanto shape.
Oh, you can bring it to us. You can bring it to any of our shops, or you can send it to us. It's up to you. We have a mailing sharpening. Mailing sharpening comes here, and I get to sharpen them.
And it depends on what you mean by sharpened badly. Like, is the profile messed up? Is the angle too fat? Like, there's a lot of different issues that can arise that you have to fix. I would say take your time and do lots of research before you go too nuts.
Oh yeah, like if you want to do it by yourself, it's the sorry, I guess it's a sharpening class today.
Yeah.
Didn't realize.
That's okay. When you have a stone, you can produce nice contrast on wide bevels between the jigane/hagane. Do you have any tips for how varying your amount of pressure can affect the look?
It does, yeah. It really is the experiment, though. Like I was doing it today on the on Kensho K series on 3000. It makes a really nice contrast between Hagane and Jigane. But push it hard and do a longer stroke, or the push it little and do it. It's just really a combination, and you should probably just try it. And it often reacts differently from one knife to another. So that's something that you should definitely experiment. There isn't definite answer to that, but there are stones like definitely, say for example, Kensho K series, which we're having trouble getting because there's not enough airplanes flying between Canada and Japan right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's been a challenge. We've had some great feedback since Richard asked that question about fixing the poorly sharpened tanto blade. Fighting U6 said you drop it down to a coarse stone, reestablish the bevel until properly apexed. Blank would butter knife it, which basically means 90-degree angle on the stone, make it very not sharp, and then grind it until it's the right shape, then create a new bevel. So just kind of start from scratch. Yusik also clarifies it depends on what poorly sharpened means, which is kind of what I mentioned. Like, is it wrong angle? Is the profile messed up? Is it this? Is it that? And then Richard clarifies, thanks for the tip. It was uneven and the edge was blunt in some areas and sharp in others. It really does sound like it was poorly sharpened. I'm sorry to hear that. And apparently the profile is messed up, but he'll bring it to us. Yeah.
So you can make the profile back using a lot coarser grit. Put it almost like 90-degree angle, almost. I don't usually do it at 90, like 70 to 80 degrees. Do it like this to make the bevel back. Then I usually either thin, depends on type of the, because the tanto tip could be pocket knives or the sashimi type knives.
Right.
Pocket knives I've done bring it back up and thin. thinning, you have to be a little bit more careful because the pocket knife thinning is a little bit more hard. Often because they only use one type of steel. They don't use the softer steel on the outside. Softer steel will help the steel grind faster.
Yeah, of course. Okay. A couple more questions here while you're doing that. How's that going now? You're polishing from what 220 up to 30,000 in one jump?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like the Evel Knievel of knife sharpening.
It will definitely what happens is that it will definitely going to have a both, I think, characteristics, and unless I do it very, very long time because I can see. Oh, it's maybe just too high of a jump. It's starting to actually polish it up, but I can definitely see that the scratches are made by that 220's grit.
Yeah, you probably have some parts that are super shiny and some parts that are really scuffed up. Craig's Kitchen Rocks is asking or saying, random but somewhat related, anyone made their own katsuobushi shaver box using a plain blade? That's something I've been thinking about. First off, is there a name for that box?
No. It's the whole thing is called katsuobushi kazuri. So usually comes with the blade and the box.
Right. So Mike has one, and we've sold them before. So Craig, we could get you one if you want. But Naoto, you sharpen that blade for Mike, and we actually shaved some in the warehouse one day. How did that blade differ from a plain blade?
It's the same.
Exact same. Cool.
But the katsuobushi slicer doesn't need as precision as the so it's easier. Because
you're making soup and not furniture?
Yeah, exactly, right? Because you put it in your mouth at the end. At the end of the day. So the purpose of the katsuobushi slicer is to make that thing super thin, right?
Yeah.
Planer is.
Say, for those of you that don't know, like katsuo is super, super hard, right? Like it's smoked, dried fish.
Yeah. It's like almost like wood.
Yeah, it's when you look at it, it almost looks like if you've ever been to a dinosaur museum, like a piece of petrified wood. It's very, it's dense.
It's super dense. So but you just basically shave it into really, really thin pieces, right? And you don't need a precision doing that. Where plain blades, you need a precision because you're planing the wood into flat surface, right?
Right.
So you need precision on both. Blades has to be super flat, and the wood, the piece of wood has to be super flat. So
blank says, make sure you leave some bite, Naoto, because I think that's what we're going for here is a combination smooth and bite edge.
This has got a lot of bite, lots of bite.
It's got bite for days.
Yeah, it has the. So it's sharp. What happens is that when you're sharpening with the coarse grit, you're making the edge like this, as well as the side too, right? So polishing with the finer grit will make this higher point finer, so as this toothiness as well, and but doesn't get enough into the deeper side. So it definitely has that both effects, I think, especially jumping that much. I'll try that out here.
Yeah, I'm really curious how it cuts. Desmond 50 Cent had a question on which movement do you apply pressure on the knife? I've watched many videos, but I still get confused. And I think he's talking about, because we get this question on a lot of our videos. Do you apply pressure when you're pushing forward or pulling back on the stone. And I think Yusik summed it up really well. I don't think we even need to answer. My opinion is first, not to get overly concerned about pressure. Focus on angle and consistency first. But I think most will say on more on edge trailing strokes. We don't worry too much about pressing coming back or forward. We just don't press too hard when you're using a stone, and that's kind of all you need to worry about.
Yeah, it's got really nice edge. Like it's toothy, but it's smooth. Yeah, this is actually not bad at all. It's fun. It's
yeah, that looks pretty good.
It's actually really fun. You can skin tomatoes.
I'm tempted to try this at home now.
Yeah, and like tomato skins are a little bit more tougher, so I'm just gonna try that.
Yeah, they always fight with your knife.
This is the ultimate test. As just going to the skin. Just almost just the skin.
Oh yeah, that looks awesome. Blank, I think you've revolutionized the world of kitchen knife sharpening.
Yeah. So here, yeah, this is good. This got very nice, both kind of edge to it. One thing I want to point out that I've seen so many people do is the like I don't do this, but the I see people, especially the
just smacking the cutting board.
Yeah, a little bit of a down motion is good, but knife needs to slide in order to cut. So even like onions, right? The when I cut onions, the little bit of cutting lesson as well. We don't do any cutting things these days, do we?
Yeah, we haven't done a lot of knife skills classes, but we always can.
So like this, I see people doing this.
Yeah.
This works much nicer.
It really does.
Yeah.
That's how people on TikTok use kitchen knives, is they just smash it into the cutting board with each cut.
Yeah. So you get the much nicer, thinner slices. I've explained it while back as well about the using the whole blade doing this. It's going to achieve much nicer, thinner edge because it's not only the thickness from the taper from here. The taper from here and this way is going to be a lot thinner. That's why cutting into this will make so much nicer.
Mm.
Right?
Well, this was Blank's suggestion, and they said that's why they call me Dr. Blank. It's true, they do call you that.
Yeah, you can do this, but yeah, this is really
now
nice.
You're just showing off.
Interesting.
I think it's great.
Right. I love cutting up. But yeah, the dot edge was really good. Actually, it's got the really nice smoothness, as you can see on the tomatoes, but it's got certain bite. It will probably keep its edge quite nice as well. I should try that actually on my knives for sure.
Yeah, why not? I'm gonna try that because I got a couple of home kitchen knives I got to tune up. I want to give that a go. Yusik was paying close attention earlier and said the coolest thing Naoto did was slicing that skin curled up in the air. Just quick, that was easy to miss, but really showed the sharpness. I agree. Getting through a tomato skin that effortlessly is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was just like I wasn't mentioning. I guess it was the tomato without holding it.
And Wormy La Worm, amazing name and amazing avatar of a Metroid with the top hat, says, pull cutting through a pepper skin while being smooth but not having to use as much length of the blade is the test I like to pass. That's awfully specific, but yeah, it's, I mean, if you can get a knife to do that, then you're good. You're done. You've won sharpening.
Getting quite a bit messy.
And Desmond, who had the sharpening question earlier, says, I just bought an Amakiri by Yoshikane, and I'm super excited to start my journey. Well, welcome to the wonderful world of Japanese knives and sharpening them. It's pretty fun.
Nice. Amakiri.
Are you familiar with that?
Maybe an Akiri, Minkiri.
Could be a typo for Nakiri.
Maybe.
Sense. Phil Page is a good question, and this is a bit of a sad one. How can I fix a gouged 220 grit stone?
The best way is to use the use a diamond grit stone, diamond like Atoma or something like that, because it takes quite a while because it happens.
Yeah.
Phil,
just do what I would do and flip the stone over and use the other side.
For a little while,
Put a big X on the other side with a Sharpie so you don't use it anymore.
Yeah. You can do what you could do as well is that go to the back alley, find the nice flat concrete and put the water and do that.
Yeah, that technique works really well. I've done it.
I'm curious. Oh, they must have named it or something. Because Amakiri means the rain cutter or cutting rain.
Oh, cool. That's a sweet name.
Yeah.
Blank says SICK or SIC powder and a glass plate. I assume there's a diamond powder of some kind.
Yeah.
And Comp Edge says, have you ever sharpened through a normal progression of grits? Then after your finest, go back over with a coarse, only 1 or 2 very light strokes.
Have I ever sharpened through the normal progression and finest go back with a coarse? Not really. That is like, I don't think it's got a lot of benefit to it. You will make the edge a little bit more coarser by doing it. I don't think I can see the camera.
I think there's other ways to get bite in your edge other than that.
From doing it from the this big jump was really good because the I think is that what it did is that as you use the coarse grit, you're making the edge quite big like this, and the finer grit will make the very fine grit made the that part a little bit finer. You see the tiny bit at the top there at the edge part. So you leave the so this is probably the part that took. So you have you have the smooth and the little like fine edge like this, but the from the super smooth edge, looks like this, like it's almost like straight. To put on the grit, well, yeah, I guess if it's like very few like light passes, you may make it be like this as well. So you may leave the smoothness. So I guess it kind of works as well. I've done a few experiment on the one side and the other side, different grits, but I haven't done that. But it's interesting, actually.
Cool.
I'm just cutting and I'm using like cutting with a sharp knife is entertaining.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's you got a new knife home and you just want to like cut stuff all day.
Yeah, after you sharpen your knife and cut a bunch of stuff that's not necessarily you you make a soup out of it and stuff. I should probably
Totally.
I should probably bring this home and just put that in a super stock. Yeah.
Comp Edge, we were talking about that style of sharpening. Comp Edge says, I'm trying it on my Miyabi now, so I think I might like blank's way better, which is what we did just now, sharpening on a coarse grit and then polishing on a super fine grit.
Yeah.
Seems like it's legit. I want to try it out.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the the sharpeners done it as well. So I've done it before. I was doing it once, 1,000 and jumped on 8,000. Not as aggressive like this, but it works. It seems to be working really well.
Yeah. Desmond had a couple comments. It's almost therapeutic. Yeah, totally. Using a really sharp knife is absolutely therapeutic.
Yeah.
And they also said earlier, I'm too scared to get a carbon steel knife at this stage. You know what? People on the internet like to really work up how big of a deal a carbon steel knife is. And maybe if you live in a tropical country where there's crazy humidity, totally. But I've owned carbon steel knives for a lot of years. Don't even sweat it, dude. Just go for it. If you feel like you're gonna enjoy using a carbon steel knife and you take good care of your tools, just take the leap and you will absolutely love it, because they cut awesome. They patina, which is super fun and cool, and they're just super rad, and they're not that much work to take care of. When you're done using it, wipe it off with a cloth, and you're good to go.
It's actually not as hard. I didn't have a carbon steel knife for myself for a little while. I did have the Yanagiba and Deba, the job specific ones with the carbon steel knives. But what happens is that I just grabbed myself a carbon steel Gyuto, and it was so much easier. I know how to take care of it and stuff, but it's so much easier than I really initially thought to take care of. So it was
Yeah. And Craig agrees with me 100%. Well, you're friends with Nick Skinner, so I would hope so, because if you don't like carbon steel and you're friends with Nick, I feel like that can't last long. Fighting U6 says, I agree with Nathan. Blue number 2 seems especially resilient. My first Japanese knife was a Moritaka Ishime, which is blue number 2, and it certainly does rust easily compared to other steels, but it's pretty great. It's I don't know. I've never had an issue with it. And we have more support for carbon steel. There's a lot of carbon steel fans in the audience. Iggy says full carbon is the way to go.
But having said that, though, there are a lot of good stainless steel around as well.
Totally.
It's probably the end of this year to maybe next year. I have been talking with Masashi-san about some project. I want to see his knife, the extreme end of his knives in terms of the performance.
Right. Because his knives can get crazy. Like, you told me about that knife, that super thin knife that he made that was just it's insane. It A, shouldn't be possible, and B, it was just like the work of a madman.
It was insane. I was so for those of you who knows Masashi-san, he is a absolutely crazy blacksmith. We don't sell that particular knife, but I was casually chatting with him saying, hey, it would be really nice to have very flexible boning knife, and can you forge it? He was he just sent me a picture, something like that. And he's and it's super thin, and he measured it. It's 0. What did he say? 0.15 millimeter? No, yeah, 0. Super thin. It's not even a millimeter. 0.15 millimeters. I have to double check. But the super thin, and what he did is that he forged 4 different types of steels, forged welded, folded them a few times so that it becomes very nice and very nice thin blade. It was crazy, and it just flexes into 90 degrees and comes back.
That's insane.
So 0.25 millimeters, a quarter of the millimeters.
That's insane.
Heels forge weld it and forge into that. It's crazy.
Man. Desmond said, "Oh, you guys are making me regret my Masamoto VG purchase." You know what, man? There is nothing wrong with stainless steels or VG steels. I've got plenty myself. that's the beautiful thing about having a knife collection, is that you have different steels to use for different purposes, cutting different kinds of food, putting different edges on, different moods or days of the week. Don't ever feel bad about getting a sweet knife. Just know that, you got to take a first step in your collection, and that was your first step by the sounds of it. But down the road, you can add something different. Unfortunately, you can have just one knife, but you're not likely to have just one knife. You're probably going to end up with a whole bunch.
Yeah, VG10 is good quality steel. Knife makers uses them, and it's good steel. But yeah, this massage sun thing is going to be, hopefully it's going to be exciting. I'm hoping to see a little bit more. Like, he has been actually working with a lot of different new steels, and he's actually sent us a few samples and stuff. So I'm going to have a chat with him.
Very cool.
And see what he can do for us.
Right on. Blank says, sharpening is therapeutic for me. Thank God I found a way to make money doing it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the only one.
Yeah, it's fun. I it's therapeutic. There is a lot of feel the accomplishment and achievement is really good as well. I feel like after sharpening that chip knives, it's like feels so good.
Totally.
Yeah.
We got some comments about finger stones being good for recurves. Blank, you were talking about coarser finger stones. Take a look at the Suihiro wedge stone that we just got. There's a 300 grit, really hard 300 grit, and that was one of the ones we were using on the Axe episode a couple weeks ago. And it is awesome. It's fantastic for doing that kind of sharpening.
The Coarse, I'm gonna try this again.
Yeah, you can see a little better there. Lighting's a bit better.
It's not too bad. Let's see here.
Not so much.
Not so much. You see them like a little bit nicer.
Oh yeah, that looks great. There we go.
Here you go. This is done by Knifewear 220.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
This I thin it, and I blended it with the sandpaper. So there's like bevel and non-bevel. So I blended it with the sandpaper, but I was trying some different stones, powders, the finger stones out, and I was like, there's the small piece of small piece of the Knifewear 220 stone kicking around, so I just decided to give it a little polish, and it gave okay.
That looks incredible. Yeah, that looks like I still don't really believe you that it's 220 grit. That looks incredible.
Yeah, I know, right? So to get the similar finish like a Masakage Kiri, you may be able to actually do this, although it kind of left a little bit deeper scratches if you see it closely. But it does look fine, right?
Cool.
Yeah, you can see it better now, right?
Yeah, that looks awesome.
This is Knifewear 220 finger stone.
Crazy.
And
yeah,
great thing about sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, great thing about the Knifewear 220 is that it's soft.
Yeah.
Those good-looking VG10 Damascus knives, because it's hand forged and hand sharpened, it has tiny bit of it's not like even all the way. So it's got a little bit of convexity and the concave and convexity all at the same time. So I used it was much easier using those.
Very interesting. Huh.
What?
Desmond knows that the knives are going to be a rabbit hole. Yeah, you're gonna build a collection for sure, and it's pretty much inevitable. Good question here that I'm interested in by Richard. The Knifewear site is great, but would you guys consider creating a newbie guide? As a hobbyist cook, I'm not that knowledgeable about the lore and detail you're discussing. Richard, that is an excellent suggestion. So I guess real quick, for those of you, we've got a lot of new viewers in the last little while. Naoto there we go, is our cultural ambassador. So he deals directly with all of our Japanese suppliers. He goes to Japan every year, not this year for obvious reasons. But he deals with that. He's also an expert sharpener and helps with all the training of all our staff. So if you ever have questions about really in-depth things like that, Naoto's your guy. I handle our marketing. So I kind of run our marketing department and handle all the content creation. So when it comes to blogs on the website or videos on the YouTube channel or posts on the Instagram page, that's my job. So if you have suggestions for the Knifewear website, leave them in the comments or shoot me an email directly at nathan@knifewear.com. That's nathan@knifewear.com. Because that is something that I can directly just add onto my to-do list, and our team will create that content in the next few months. Because we're always looking to create content that's more useful to our customers. So please let me know. If you want to get a hold of Naoto, I got it right that time, naoto@knifewear.com. You can also follow Naoto on Instagram, and I have a thing here. There we go. He posts a lot of cool stuff on his Instagram page, like sharpening knives and knife repairs, that kind of stuff.
But yeah, the regular stuff, like we just posted a blog post about the how to choose your Japanese knives. There are a lot of actually blog content that you can actually go to and try to help you find the right stuff for those of you who's not really familiar with the content that we have. Also, we do have the several lots of contents on the YouTube, as well as the a lot of lives like a Japanese 101. It's just really silly and fun stuff, but you get to ask a lot of questions on that. It's like ask any questions like this as well, but ask any questions type of stuff as well. We on Thursday evenings we do offer a basic sharpening class. So it doesn't go as nerdy as this, but it's great way to start. So there are a lot of contents that you can refer to, you can go to, and besides, if I think it's a really good idea to start the content, that type of content as well. But yeah,
totally. Yusik is blaming me because he didn't get yesterday morning. I was cutting a mountain yam Naoto t-shirt. I do handle our marketing, but our design manager Mason handles that kind of stuff. So Mason, if you're watching, that's your fault. And if you have complaints, don't forget, send them to chris@knifewear.com. That's Chris with a K at knifewear.com. Send all your complaints and irritations. Or if you just have good shirt ideas, send it your way. We are working on some shirt ideas. I'm trying to convince Mason that a Miami Vice logo that says Knifewear would be a good idea. And some other cool ideas. So send us your ideas, send us your complaints, whatever you have. Don't forget to dislike and unsubscribe. And Blank says Discord. Blank, it's been on my list for a couple weeks now. I am researching. I want to make sure we do it right, but we are definitely going to make a Knifewear Discord happen, which is just kind of, for those of you that don't know, kind of a community space where people can chat through text or voice. So it will happen. And then Iggy has a really, really great comment. Figured Nathan would have posted a link for you. The book is The Knife Nerd Guide to Japanese Knives, and I can't believe I've failed. But that is definitely one of the best beginner guides for customers. It's the book that our boss Kevin wrote, and it's all about Japanese knives. And Naoto has a chapter all about steel nerdiness and stuff.
Yes. I kind of wanted to, because it's almost about time is it tea? Yeah. Can I talk about one knife that we just got and I'm really excited about?
Yes, please do. And for those of you watching, you have about 10 minutes to get your questions into the comments. And then it's Friday, so Naoto and I are probably going to relax and have a drink and chill out. But thank you, everybody that's tuned in so far. If you're still tuned in and you haven't liked the video yet, give it a gosh dang like, subscribe to our channel, and Naoto's got something exciting to show you.
It's very personal for us as well. It's from Sakai Kikumori. A wholesaler in Sakai region. And Sakai is very interesting. They get a knife from those knife makers and they sends off to the sharpeners to do the sharpening. And the young shacho he's really good. He's been actually trying to make a new lines and stuff every now and then. This line, Tomoshibi, the look is very unimpressive. I mean, just a regular deba, right?
It's very clean. It's very kind of classic white handle polished blade.
Yeah, it's very clean. It's relatively, really well priced. It's got a nice raoshi. This Tomoshibi line is forged. I can't say the name. It's a thing that they said, don't tell the name, but it is forged by a former employee. Our former employee. He, 11 years ago, he was in Canada working for Knifewear, and he went back to Japan and became a blacksmith. He was working at several different workshop of, like he was working at different blacksmith under a different blacksmith. Now he ended up in this place in Kochi, and he is partnering up with the young sharpener. He's also super talented, and started his own things. Then Sasaki Komori approached, and they started their own kind of line of single bevel knives. So it's fun. It's some very well made single bevels, Deba, Yanagiba that we got. Really well made, well priced, but more than that, it's a kind of our connection to the blacksmith. It's a personal connection. We do have still his bass guitar hanging in our Calgary store. Like he used to be in a band called, I can't remember what it's called.
It's something fingers, right?
Peach fingers. No, peach fingers. Something
Peach
like
fingers, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So we do have his peach legs. It's got
Peach legs, right?
So yeah, he was the guy who wrote the first, I think, the sharpening guide.
Wow.
I think.
Long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago, and so
before my time. This must have been like 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. It was even before us. My first knife I purchased from him.
I already have a raccoon figure.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah, he's kind of a legend in the knifewear world. I'm excited we can finally get knives from him. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. It is the them that they said don't mention the names yet. I think what happens is that they feel like they're a lot like better, like older blacksmiths deserve to be named. I think, and that's why they said don't mention the name yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a rite of passage, right? Like the guys that have done it for decades, they kind of they get to. Can you do me a real quick favor, Naoto? Can you walk over to your mic and there's that button that says pattern? Can you just click that? It's a bit late because we're almost done, but that should change. That's just the omnidirectional.
Okay.
Awesome. That sounds better. Okay, a couple more comments here. Blank is asking, has there ever been a knife that you've gotten sharper than others, like certain steels, or just one time when you did very well with your technique? The first time I passed the hanging hair test, I was shocked.
Definitely some of the white carbon steel knives, and when I took it to super high grades like 8,000 I used to sharpen, I was like, oh, it's sharp, like it's so fine. So like I think white carbon, especially #1 steel, I was so impressed with the hardness and purity. It's got so much more finer and sharper. After the fact, though, again, like blank as I have been talking about the toothiness and everything. It's not necessarily all that silkiness and smoothness, right? Because it kind of changed my perception of sharp. But but definitely there are some knives and steels that I found it's like, oh my god, it takes such a good edge for sure. But
Yeah, totally. I remember when I first started sharpening at Knifewear and learning to sharpen, I was kind of, I was like in my early 20s and I was just trying to show off and do cool stuff. But the first time I ever got, it was probably Mike or somebody showed me a trick where if you get powdered stainless steel sharp enough, you can drop a piece of newspaper and then just whip the knife through it, kind of like a samurai in a cartoon, and it just like splits into two midair. And it's maybe kind of like the hanging hair test. It's not like the best test of whether or not you did a good job, but it's extremely satisfying. The first time I could get a knife to do that, I was elated. It was very motivating for me to sharpen more knives and get even better.
Yeah.
I asked Yusik what he's making for dinner tonight. He said, I think I'll make a quick tomato sauce with carrot, onion, garlic, etc. Then use leftover naan bread for a little homemade pizza. Sounds awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
That sounds awesome.
Well, it's 4 minutes to 6 on Friday, and we've run out of questions.
Yep.
So I think that is just about the end of the Naoto's Nerdy Power Hour. I apologize, Naoto. We had so many questions. We didn't quite get to everything you wanted to do.
Okay. I didn't get to see them because the my cam I didn't see the screen for the when I'm sharpening. So, but
right.
Hopefully I made a little bit of different things here and there. One last thing is that the side polish, the side, how I polish the side, like if I make it super mirror or smooth, it glides through the if you're the last point, if you're cutting a whole bunch of raw meat, portioning out, say if you get a whole tent like pork loin and stuff like that, my opinion, the best edge for that is to leave the edge part a little bit coarse, like a 1000, that kind of stuff, and make the side polish really well so that it glides so much nicer. So it's like combination.
That makes a lot of sense. I use my Moritaka 240 these days mostly for if I have a whole beef strip line I want to cut up into steaks, or I want to make a bunch of sliced meat for skewers or something. That's the knife I use because it's got a longer blade. So polished bevel, but toothier edge, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited. I'm gonna put that one in my pocket and use it later.
Yeah.
We've got a few comments just about people enjoying the stream and really liking the topic. I was really excited for this one. We've had so many requests for it, and I'm glad we can finally get to it. So if you guys have suggestions, I've said this 7 times today, but leave it in the comments after the video's over. Just leave us a comment because those are up permanently, or shoot me an email, shoot Naoto an email. Again, Nathan at Knifewear.com, Naoto at Knifewear.com. We will add them to the list. And if, like Richard, you have suggestions for content for us to put on our website as well, send me an email because I'm kind of in charge of getting the blogs written and that kind of thing. And I can always use more ideas. Other than that, we've got some exciting new videos coming up on our YouTube channel. We've got how to straighten a bent kitchen knife that came out on Wednesday, so make sure you go and watch that because there's some great tips in there. We're shooting how to repair a chipped knife and how to flatten your stones on Monday, so those will be out in the next month or so. Really important, on April 19th we have a TV show of sorts coming out. Now it's still going to be on YouTube like this, but we're going for a higher production quality, and we're going to be showing off lots of videos that are not on our channel, kind of sneak peeks of upcoming content and that kind of stuff. Kind of more of a talk show format. So if you want to tune into that, it's called Sharp Knives Rock. It's going to be April 19th, airing around probably 2 p.m. Mountain Time. There'll be more info coming out on our mailing list and on our community page on YouTube. I'll just follow up with my last few bits of news. Our Ottawa store is closed, but they're open for curbside Tuesday to Saturday, closed Sunday, Monday. Order at knifewear.com if you're in Ottawa and select curbside pickup, or get free shipping over $100. We have free sharpening for chefs and cooks in Ottawa and Vancouver right now, coming to Alberta soon. So if you work in the industry and your restaurant's shut down, come get your knives sharpened. And then on Tuesday, Naoto and Kevin and Lordy are finally going to be making Heston's triple cooked chips. They're going to be making French fries. People have been requesting it for like 6 months, so it's finally happening on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Blank says, try the Dr. Blank Edge. You're going to have to trademark that. You should definitely submit a patent. Do it. Oh, yeah. Throw in a link to Kevin's book for Richard. I will make it happen. And Naoto, you got any other bits of news before we go? Or any other comments?
That's it. I'm really excited about the Sharp Knife Rock, that show. The sharpening competition that we did, it was fantastic. I hope it's going to turn out very good. It's going to be it will have that judging segment that we're going to do it on live.
Yep.
So I'll be judging the knife that's been sharpened. I'll be doing very similar to what I'm doing with those carrots and stuff like that. The judging criteria was cutting carrots, cutting tomatoes, and the look. And here's the secret mystery, but I don't think those were what it's sharpening. It's done.
I don't think Mike and Kevin are going to make it into the last 2 hours of the show, so we can probably tell these people what the secret categories are going to be.
The secret category is cutting a phone book.
Do you have a phone book? I thought those were endangered species. Are we allowed to cut them?
We do have phone books sitting there, so yeah. So
yeah, I'm really
a little bit of a toothiness. It tells a little bit of a retention and stuff like that as well, and also it's fun. So gotta cut the.
You got to do it for the gram, as they say.
Yeah. So for those people who's watching and say blank, or everyone else watching both shows, don't tell Kevin about that. Although the sharpening is already done, so sharpening is already done. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah, we've locked their knives in a vault, so they can't alter their edges anymore.
Kept in a secret spot. So
yeah. No, this video is going to be great. I think we're going to call it Iron Sharpener because it's inspired by Iron Chef. Naoto plays the role of the chairman.
Yeah,
there's some good dramatic shots. I've got some kung fu zooms with the lens. It's going to be a bit messy, but it's going to be super fun. I'm pretty excited. You guys should mail me. Blank says you should mail me a phone book. I need one for work. Do they not have phone books in Texas anymore? Yeah, I mean, if we have extras, like I said, they're an endangered species, so I don't know if we have any, but we'll try. At the very least, we can throw in some of our cut up phone book paper on your next order. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. I hate to end it, but I need to eat something and go to the bathroom, so I feel like I'm going to call it a day.
Awesome. We'll get the good comments. Well, thanks everyone for watching. And
all right, we got one more. Corey Phillips got in last minute. Let's do one more question. Thanks to Knifewear, I refined my sharpening and been able to get my knives sharp enough to shave a little. Holy bananas! Awesome. I found that I was able to get my Takamura Chromax sharper than my VG10 knife. Thoughts?
Could be. The Chromax is actually made with a. The Chromax is made. It is actually VS1 or the SKD12. It's the semi carbon steel, semi stainless steel. Its sharpenability, it sharpens a little bit easier than VG10. It wears. So the wear resistance and the sharpenability in VG10 is not actually the greatest. The Takamura Chromax actually does have. It grinds it much easier, and also the Chromax VG10, well, VS1 or the SKD12, or some people call it D2, leaves a little bit of toothy edge as well, so it feels much sharper by doing so as well. So that could be it. Depends on what VG10 knife. If you compare Takamura Chromax to Takamura VG10, it may be very similar, but the Takamura-san's knife generally is really, really nice and super thin and easy to sharpen. So. Yeah.
I like it. And Iggy has a last minute tip. If you need some phone book paper to test your knives on, call your local phone company. I'm in Arizona and I get them that way. That's an awesome tip. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you all have a great weekend. If you do have suggestions, send us an email. Otherwise, make sure you like the video, please, for the love of God, like the video and subscribe to our channel. And we'll be back next week. I don't know what our topic is next week, but we'll find something fun to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks for watching.